mother's guidance, and motherhood has only served to strengthen this belief in me. When I look back, this journey has been a spiritual one. I vividly recall the day when I discovered that she was still there, defying all odds. Yes, still there, her heartbeat connected to mine. It had begun when an unexpected rendezvous of September, the days that were once filled with promise had transformed into a sour memory overnight. The morning after emotions washed over me as I learned those words, as I heard those words. Despite the positive result on the pregnancy test, the intense cramping and bleeding had led me to believe that I was indeed losing the baby. It was a bittersweet pill to swallow, but fate had other plans. Imagine my surprise when I discovered that the night I had sworn him off had resulted in pregnancy. It was now slipping away from me, but I counted my blessings. At that moment, I couldn't help but think it was a sign of God's protection. I thought to myself, it must be divine intervention that spared me. Months later, Thanksgiving week arrived, and there I was back at the campus doctor. My body ached, nausea clung to me like a shadow, and nothing would stay down. Unbeknownst to me, the news awaiting me would completely catch me off guard. I was still pregnant. I knew deep down that it was the same pregnancy that I had thought I had lost before. In a moment of disbelief, I asked the doctor if my symptoms were due to a stomach virus. His response was filled with a mix of surprise and humor as he quipped, the 9 month stomach virus. My mind suddenly raced ahead to my upcoming plans. Over the month, I had started seeing another guy, Dion. The next day, I was scheduled to meet his mother for the first time. Time stood still as I grappled with the reality of this situation. How was I going to face him? To make matters worse, he was waiting for me along with his cousin in the waiting room. Thoughts of what excuse to give him to save face in front of his cousin flooded my mind. In a split second, I made a decision and I emerged from the doctor's office, mustering a weak smile. It's just a stomach flu, I lied. Could you please drop me off? I really need to rest. Overwhelmed by the unexpected news, I knew I needed someone to confide in, so I urgently requested to be dropped off at a friend's house. Sitting in the car, a wave of emotion swept over me. Of course, the jarring turn of events had left me questioning the future. I started mulling over everything when I was finally dropped off at a friend's house. After all, I was the first in my family to graduate high school without a baby and had worked hard to secure my place in college. Yet here I was, unmarried and pregnant by someone who I knew I had no intentions of building a future with. In the midst of my personal struggles, I met a guy who ignited a spark within me. We had shared a deep connection, and the feeling seemed to be mutual. My heart had started to heal from the pain of losing my brother the previous year, and I was slowly emerging from the depths of depression. However, my financial situation was far from stable, and I had only had a part time job to support myself. The weight of responsibility for a child felt overwhelming to say the least. With a heavy heart, I made the difficult decision to terminate the pregnancy. Searching for guidance and support, I came across a half page advertisement in the phone book. Are you pregnant and confused? It read, Yep. It resonated with my feelings of uncertainty and the contemplation of abortion. It seemed like the answer I was searching for. Without hesitation, I scheduled an appointment for the end of the week, hoping it would bring some clarity to the tangled web of emotions I had found myself in. I dreaded the day that finally arrived, casting a somber shadow over a chilly November morning. As I stepped out of my car, I noticed the leaves swirling in the wind, creating a carpet of autumn hues. My heart raced with both nervousness and anticipation. I had parked my car a couple of houses down from the location, parallel to the quiet street. The building before me resembled a house with a long and slender sidewalk leading to the entrance. It felt as if time stood still. As I approached the walkway, I was in a state of deep emotional turmoil. And then, as if by some strange twist of fate, she appeared before me, seemingly materializing out of thin air. A polite blonde woman, her age likely in her late 50s, stood there, wrapped in a dark, ankle length coat. She approached me with a smile. You couldn't possibly do what you're thinking about doing if you named that baby, the dark figure stated. Excuse me, ma'am, I responded, dumbfounded. She repeated the same phrase, then added with a sense of urgency. Name that baby right now so you don't do what you're thinking about doing. For a moment, I was speechless. Then the name occurred to me as if it was sitting on the tip of my tongue. With little hesitation, I yelled, Justice. She smiled and questioned again, and what if it's a girl? Oh, Justice, I repeated. Good. Now you wouldn't hurt Justice, would you? Although I simply nodded, her question echoed in my mind. I continued down the long walkway into the clinic's door. The mysterious incident undoubtedly spooked me, but I remained resolute in my decision to proceed with the appointment. As I walked into the room, the atmosphere was stark and sterile, characteristic of any typical doctor's office. The sliding window for check in, the gray chairs, and a couple of potted plants scattered around the room did little to alleviate the sense of unease. Generic artwork adorned the walls, devoid of any personal touch or warmth. Before I could even settle into one of the cold, uninviting chairs after checking in, I was swiftly ushered into an adjacent room for an ultrasound. The sterile environment continued with the clinical equipment and the dim glow of monitors casting an unnerving glow. I was offered the opportunity to glimpse at the developing embryo on the screen, but I declined without hesitation. How could I? The thought of witnessing the image of a baby, knowing the weight of decision I was contemplating, felt unbearable. After a few snapshots were taken and the gestational weeks determined, I was guided into another room. This space offered a slight reprieve from the clinical surroundings with a large olive green couch and a matching chair positioned across from it. However, even in this room, the air hung heavy with the weight of my decision. That is, until I started taking in my surroundings. Unbeknownst to me, fate had led me to a place I never expected to be. The room was plain and sterile, typical of a doctor's office, but something felt different. As I sat down on that olive green couch, I couldn't help but notice the crosses on the wall and the literature about early pregnancy and God's love scattered around the room. It dawned on me that I had walked into a Christian pregnancy center and not the abortion clinic I had intended to visit. Anybody know me personally, if I cry in a hot minute, trying to keep the promo photos together. A few minutes later, a counselor entered the room and handed me pictures of my embryo. With tears streaming from my face, I accepted her offer to pray for me. It was a vulnerable moment, and I needed all the support I could get. After the prayer, she gently shared that I was about 10 weeks pregnant. She echoed the words the mysterious woman had told me earlier. You know, if you named that baby, you wouldn't be able to do what you're thinking about doing. Trying to hold myself together, I shared with her the encounter I had on the way to the clinic. A lady approached me on my way here saying the same thing. And she says, well, raising her eyebrows, I decided to name my baby Justice, I answered. She replied, well, that's beautiful, but what if it's a girl? I replied, Justice either way. Her face softened with compassion as she said, well, that's beautiful. Justice is a powerful name, whether it's a girl or a boy. We went on to speak about God's unwavering love and how He had a plan for my life. God is not disappointed in you, she reassured me in a kind voice. She went on to recite Jeremiah 1:5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. Her words resonated deeply within me, and I sobbed as she spoke. In that moment, she planted the seeds of faith and destiny that would later bloom in my life. As a token of remembrance, she handed me a small pin with gold feet symbolizing the size of my baby's feet at 10 weeks gestation. Looking at the charm, something stirred within me. Holding those tiny feet in my hand, I felt an overwhelming love and protectiveness. You wouldn't hurt Justice, would you? She said. She asked gently. My response was immediate and resolute. Never. In that instance, I knew deep in my heart that I would become a mother. I already felt those maternal instincts. Those little feet touched my soul, and I could never harm the life growing inside me. I pinned the gold feet to the left lapel of my jacket, where they remain to this day. I still have that jacket in my closet. They became a constant reminder, a source of strength and encouragement during moments of doubt. Leaving the center with pamphlets and vitamins in hand, I embarked on a journey I never thought I would take. I prayed and wrestled with the weight of the responsibility that awaited me. A million doubts plagued my mind. How can I financially support myself and this child?
How will I handle being a single mother? I just felt unworthy of being a mother. However, in those moments of uncertainty, I turned to that pen, gazing at those little feet, and found solace. After returning home, I was in a profound state of contemplation. I offered a prayer so heartfelt and full of yearning that I believe it traveled swiftly from my lips to the ears of God Himself. It was a plea born out of love, desperation, and a fierce determination to shape a future for my daughter that surpassed the limitations of my own past. With every ounce of faith I possessed, I asked God for four profound blessings. First, I implored that I would be granted the means to give my precious daughter a life far grander than the one I had known. Secondly, I entreated the heavens above that I would not be left to face the daunting challenges of single motherhood alone. Thirdly, I fervently prayed that justice would never taste the bitterness of growing up without a father's love. And finally, in a moment of vulnerability, I dared to dream that justice would surpass me in every conceivable way. I yearned for her to rise above the obstacles I had faced. And lo and behold, God answered each and every one of my prayers. The proof lies within the pages of this very book. For God granted me a remarkable opportunity, a chance to raise justice in an environment of stability. Mere weeks before I learned of my pregnancy, a man walked into my life, a stranger then, who would become my rock. Against all odds, love blossomed between us. We faced parenthood together as a united front. Dion has been there for justice since her very first breath, not just as a stepdad, but a constant source of strength and love. To justice, he'll always be dad. When a young woman discovers her unplanned pregnancy, it can feel as though the entire world has been turned upside down. The weight of this realization can be overwhelming, and in those moments, it's important to remember that God has a beautiful plan specifically designed for you. Motherhood, without a doubt, is a journey filled with unparalleled beauty, love, and growth. In my own life, I find myself at this point of making the most difficult decision I had ever faced. During this moment, a woman, or perhaps I should say a woman in disguise, crossed my path. Her presence, words of comfort, and unshakable faith had a life altering impact on me. That encounter has made me realize that I want to be that guiding light for other women who are terrified and uncertain. I want to remind them that amidst heartbreak, heartache, and confusion, God has a future filled with hope and blessings awaiting for them. Life presents challenges that may initially seem insurmountable, but I've learned that things are never as devastating as they may appear. While I respect that every woman's decision regarding her body is deeply personal between her and God, I must emphasize that God is faithful and mighty. He can take the broken pieces of our lives and transform them into breathtaking masterpieces. It's crucial not to become consumed by what is currently visible, for things can always improve even when it seems impossible. That's chapter one.
Amen. What a beautiful, beautiful chapter. Um, faith and faith. Wow. Just, I think, amongst all the wonderful things in that chapter that I feel like women can relate to no matter where they are in their journey of motherhood, um, what stuck out to me was just that pivotal moment where you walked into what you thought was the clinic for you and how God had a different plan for fate for you. You were so clearly moved, and before moving on from chapter one, can just talk about some of those emotions that you're feeling, Doris. What, while you were writing that, and when you're reliving those moments, when you're walking into that clinic, what, and having your daughter hear those words sitting next to you, what are you feeling in this moment?
I think that's what's unique about this because, of course, I know the words, I wrote them, and I've read it out loud
Right.
previously. But I think it's the element of all of my friends and family and my daughter hearing it.
Sharing it.
She's reading the book. So I made sure to partner with her anything that comes out in the book because I'm telling our business that she's okay with it. So she has the words, but me seeing it out loud in front of her and then just really reliving that moment, it was scary. Like
Right.
it was really, really scary, and
And
just reliving that
you're
moment.
sharing a lot of your most vulnerable moments with justice for the first time, but with the world, with all of us. And so that can be scary, opening yourself up, not knowing how people may react, family members that may not have been aware of what was going on with you, moments that you have only shared with your husband. I'm sure that that sparked a lot of emotion. And
Yeah.
can you talk a little bit about maybe your quiet moments, if you feel comfortable even sharing that with your husband for the first time? How did this chapter resonate with him and you?
Well, Dion has been very, very supportive. He's had a chance to read it. And it's different because we've lived it.
Right,
I think one of the things that I'm being very conscientious about is because I've lived it, I'm almost a little desensitized to it because it just happened.
right.
And so I think for us, it's just almost like a memory, it's just reflection. I think when you're sitting on a stage in front of the lights and all the other elements, then the reflection feels a little bit more profound. But most of the time, I read it or I think about it, it's more so of I have feelings of God's grace. Like,
Amen.
God's grace is everything. Or um, I just thank God I don't look like what I've been through.
Amen.
I'm just grateful.
Amen. Amen. So before moving on, I would also just like to pause and just ask you, Justice, for your first time hearing this and your mom sharing these intimate moments with you, what kind of emotion did that spark within you? Did you feel like that created a stronger bond as mother and daughter? Did you have a mix of emotions of sadness and appreciation of wow?
I feel like there's so many, like, I've heard this story multiple times. So this is not my first time hearing this story. Heard this story my 16th birthday. I've heard this story like multiple times. So for me, it's like, I think I'm a little bit desensitized as well, but I'm sure the emotions are kind of the same because I feel like for me, it's always like I don't know, it feels heavy a little bit. I'm just like, oh, this story is so powerful. Like, I wasn't even around, but I know the weight of this story, and it always brings my mom to tears, like every single time. Like the amount of times I've heard it, every single time she's cried. And for me, it feels awesome to be loved, and that situation could have been way different. That's what I always think about. I'm like, what if it went the other way? You know what I mean?
Right, right.
So I always think about it. I'm always like, this is a crazy story, but I think it's awesome that we get to share it. I'm one of those people who are very open, so I think it's awesome that we get to finally just not me and her talking. We're already pretty close. It's awesome to bring it out to other people as well. And definitely this story makes us a lot stronger as like our relationship because I mean, not a lot of mothers and daughters have this type of story or upbringing, so I feel like it's really cool and it's not easily replicated. I feel like the type of bond that we have definitely is stronger now that I know like the weight of my upbringing and my
Right,
creation. So
right.
yeah.
Amen. Amen. And in addition to that, like I said, you don't know how many people you're touching with your story. So it commends you both in being comfortable, being uncomfortable, and sharing, your testimony of where God has brought you through your life.
So one of the things I want to say is sharing the story is not actually hard. I'm proud and I'm not necessarily ashamed. I'm not easily embarrassed. So sharing the story isn't hard. I think it's the favor, it's the grace, it's the feeling of it's like the glory
Yeah.
that brings me to tears because it's like man, it could have went every other way,
Right.
but God, it didn't. So
Amen.
I think that's what becomes overwhelming about it. But sharing the story is very exciting for me because I would like people to not get caught in that moment. I know what that moment feels like. I know how heavy that moment is. But if you can just see past it or have hope, you never know how it'll turn out.
Amen. Amen. So we talked a little bit about it in the beginning, just a little bit, but I want to hit on this one more time because I think it's important as far as the name. You really talked about, in that moment when that lady approached you and you automatically had justice just roll off your tongue. So why raising justice?
So, yeah, it was very interesting that Justice was the first name. Originally, I thought I would be an attorney. And so I've always wanted to kind of go in law. So, and I always loved the movie Poetic Justice. I always loved that movie. And I liked that her name was Justice. And so when the lady asked me that, again, I was thinking in the opposite direction. I wasn't thinking about naming a child. And so I think because in my mind, when she told me to name the baby, I'm like, maybe this will make everything right. Like I felt like everything was wrong, and maybe it'll make everything right. And so saying justice felt like
It was
the
justice for
opposite
her.
of where I was.
Right, right. That's
And I've
deep.
always liked word names, like um, words as names for people. So it
Right.
just kind of
Me
worked
too.
out. But once I named her at 10 weeks of pregnancy, I never changed it. I just knew it was going to be justice, whether it was a girl or a boy.
And I think it's a beautiful thing that when you look up the meaning of justice, how it means just behavior or treatment, just behavior or treatment to someone or something. And then in that moment, you embodied that name for your baby. You gave her that treatment in that moment, just
Amen.
behavior to have her opportunity to come and to see and be here right next to you. So I
Amen.
just think that the name of the book, her name, that it all just orchestrated into one this more profound moment. So that's beautiful. So Doris and Justice, what if you had to think which chapter in the book, and can we put those chapters back up there? Which chapter would be your favorite
Me first?
chapter? Justice, you
Okay.
can go first.
Yeah, I'll start off. I feel like this will definitely entice you to want to read the book. But I think my favorite chapter would probably have to be the last chapter. I think the contents of it really resonates with me. I feel like I love a good full circle moment, and I feel like that's exactly what that last chapter is. I mean, if you just look at the story now, like how we are, this is a full circle moment.
Right.
And I just really like things like that. So I feel like the last chapter is definitely my favorite. If I had to point out any others, I say the first chapter is a hard hitter, but you guys just heard that. Um, and also, personally, like me, because a lot of the stories sometimes I don't remember because I have like a horrible memory. But one of the chapters that really resonates me is coping with death and loss. That one is really personal to me, at least. Like, I think it definitely altered the course of my mindset and how I look at things in life. So I definitely recommend reading that chapter. That chapter has a lot of good messages in it, and I feel like that was the moment that was talked about in that chapter was pretty big, and at least big for my life. So I highly recommend that chapter as well. But yeah, the death and loss, graduation, and fate and faith is my favorites.
What about you, Doris?
I shouldn't have let her go first because then it seems like I'm being like her. No, Faith and Faith is definitely my favorite chapter. The first chapter is the beginning, it's where it all started. And I'm more of a root cause person. So I like to get to the bottom of it. And so I would have to say Faith and Faith. I love the full circle moment too.
It's a great thing.
Yeah. But Faith
Mother
and
like
Faith,
daughter.
yeah. Faith and Faith is my favorite chapter.
And it's interesting too that all of the chapters, if you just kind of go through them, faith, perseverance, intuition and advocacy, coping with death and loss, sex and exposure, integrity, all of these things, forgiveness, leadership, these titles are just so relatable. I feel like no matter if you're a mother, if you're a daughter, if you're a husband, a son, wherever you are, you can look at this chapter list and really pull yourself towards one of them. I mean, forgiveness, that's something that we can all have testified that we had to go through, whether it's forgiving ourselves of decisions that we've made or forgiving others. Boundaries and friendship, I mean, that's a big one. Setting boundaries for yourself, healthy boundaries. Graduation, where you're graduating to a different level in life. Um, Mental health and mental toughness, resiliency, like these are titles. Leadership, these are titles that no matter where you are in your walk in life, your journey through motherhood, fatherhood, they're so relatable. So I'm excited to be able to get my first copy and to just kind of read through with a cup of coffee and just really understand those things.
Christina, I just want to add one of the things that's cool about this book, it seems like it's focused on mother daughter because it's a mother daughter relationship and examples, but it really is for anyone.
Right.
And it's really for if you're raising a daughter or a son. I talk a lot about how or why our relationship is the way it is, and the things or the little differentiators or the little situations where maybe I didn't respond the way my parents would have responded or the way I grew up, and I maybe took a step back and I paused before I reacted and was able to really think what are the implications of me doing that.
Right.
So it's those little things that I think were differentiators in how our relationship developed or how I just learned to parent, maybe differently. One of the things I would say is I've always been mindful that I am grateful for the things that I've learned growing up. And I believe you have to give your kids, again, the things that you desire, but also the things that made you who you are. And so I always tried to find that balance in parenting in a way that I responded well to or that I learned growing up, and then also adding in the other elements that I wanted them to have, but finding the balance of both.
More balance, yeah.
So, but the book is really for anyone. It just is more drawn to mothers and daughters, but I think anyone could read it and relate.
So if you had to finish this sentence, what would be the end of your sentence? I want others to know. What would you, and I would like to ask you first, but then Justice, I kind of like want you to chime in too. What would you like others to know about this book?
Well, I think I think I just said mine pretty much is for
Yes,
anyone.
right.
It's definitely I would want others to know that it's a good read, no matter who you are.
Yeah, I think I would want others to know, have an open mind while reading the book. I want others to know that, this is me in the story, but I've grown since then. No, I'm just playing. But I think I want others to know that like transparency is key, honesty is key, and I want others to know that this book should facilitate some type of maybe discussion between you and your parents, or maybe discussion between you and your siblings. Like it should be something that isn't just a book. It should be an experience. Like it's
Right.
not just about our story. It's about the stories that you can create from our story. So I want others to know that it's not just a book. It's what you make it. You can make it more than just you reading it.
Right. To actually have an experience while you're in it.
And
That's-
if I can add to that about what I want others to know, I love that you said that transparency is key. One of the things that I'm well aware of is that as I tell our stories, there are supporting cast members. There are people that were there. There were people that heard it. There are people who may have seen it differently.
Right.
And I'm literally telling it from my perspective. So when you say keep an open mind, please keep an open mind. This book isn't designed to hurt, harm, villainize, talk about anybody else. Literally, it's a means to tell the brilliance and genius that I feel is in my child
Right.
and my parenting style and how I feel like it's a little bit different. But I definitely want others to know that in no way, shape, or form is the book designed to offend. Like literally, the book is about grace and forgiveness and growth and mending. No way, shape, or form. But that is one of the concerns you have when you write a book
Right.
because you feel like you're telling business, And
Right.
it's like, well, this is my business too, but it's
Right.
shared business. It could be somebody else's business also. But I do want others to know that transparency is key for me in my relationship. And I'm going to be real. I'm going to
Right.
tell real stories. I'm going to tell things that really impacted our relationships. I'm going to talk about moments that made me really step back as a parent and challenge the way I thought about things. And there may be other supporting cast members, but I just hope that they can respect that this is about telling a story to help others and not necessarily about supporting cast members.
I'm glad you brought that point out because um, sometimes we're going through experiences. Like you said, we all have different perspectives, and someone may see a perspective and they may feel hurt that you feel a certain way. They may not, and that you may not intend them to feel, but it is still your story.
Yeah.
And so I think even you bringing that point out and putting that blanket out there to listen, if you feel like you were a supporting cast member in this book, this is not meant to hurt you, shame
At
you,
all.
or anything, but this is something that I was doing as a freeing of forgiveness for myself and just kind of putting that out there. So I think that also talks to you as a person, as an author, of how you really want your readers to connect with you and knowing that this is such a vulnerable thing for you,
Yeah.
that this is a personal story and not shining light on someone else's. And I think that speaks to you even as a mother who, mothers have that nurturing and not wanting to hurt or harm anyone else,
Definitely don't want to hurt
but
or harm.
really just saying, this is my truth and this is what I would like to share. So that was a beautiful point to point out. Now, for those who know you, and even who those who may not know you, may be watching for the first time when they see this live stream, they can kind of tell what you're wearing, how you're sitting, that you and Justice are a lot alike. A lot of people would say that she's your mini-me.
Yeah.
But what I kind of want to know is in what ways are you different? What ways are you different?
Oh, you want me to start?
You can.
Okay. I think it's a really good question question because I feel like a lot of who I am does come from my mother. I mean, it's very evident, like you
Naturally.
said, naturally. I feel like what's different about us, I feel like our way of going about things are a little bit different. Like, I know that we probably sound the same, we probably look the same, but I feel like she'll react differently to things that I would react differently to. You know, I get a little bit more, I think it's probably because she's older and wiser, but I get a little bit more flustered, and she's just like, why are you going through that? Like, you don't need to be. And I'm like, but why? And it's a whole thing. But I feel like we're very different in how we react to things, as well as just like our style. I feel like we look a little bit different. You know, like my dress is long sleeves,
You're
yours is
right.
no
You're
sleeves.
right.
But yeah, I feel like there's a lot of different things that you can point out between me and my mom. I feel like she's a lot more. I feel like what I'm missing is that she has a lot more dominance. She's able to like kind of command things, and I feel like I have that, but like not to the full extent that she has it. So like, there's a lot of different things that I feel like I haven't at least grown into yet, but she definitely is the original for sure. So I feel like there's a lot of different things between the both of us.
Well, before I get to Doris, I just want to point out, I love that you said that you haven't grown into yet. You know, that you have that command presence, that, dominance, all those things that you admire about your mom, that you said that you get naturally from her. Those are things that are still developing. So I love that you put that yet in there. What about you, Doris?
What ways we are different? I think Justice really called it out. But I think it's maturity also. Um, but yeah, we have similar personalities. I think our approach is a little bit different. Justice is definitely more kinder, more softer.
I don't know if Justice agrees with that. She's like,
I am. I think like
She can.
hindsight is 2020. Like, yeah, I am a little bit nicer. I definitely need to harden up a little bit.
No,
But yeah.
no, I love her just the way she is. She's very good about setting good boundaries. She's just a little bit kinder. Again, I think she's like a better version of me. Like I worked really hard to help her to understand some things that took me a lot longer to learn. Um, but I think our approach is a little bit different. I think that sometimes, even though I have 4 kids, my kids are so spread out. It's like having 4 only children. Like I don't have like a
'Cause of their
first, a
ages.
middle, and a baby kind of child. I have literally four
Four first.
only kids. And so sometimes I have that personality of I'm the oldest of my siblings, and so I carry on that nurturing thing. And I think sometimes she's the oldest and she has that element, but then she has this only child element too, like maybe because she's the only girl.
Right.
So I think that shows up with her sometimes. But yeah, we have a lot of similarities, but we definitely have different personalities.
So that being said, when you're talking about your children having your 4 only child,
Yeah.
first child, what would you say, since she's the only girl, what would you say there's some challenges between mother and daughter relationship that maybe you face? Maybe some of those challenges that you may mention in the book, but that you find that are very relatable.
So what I think is really, and again, I haven't did an official survey, but in my many conversations and relationships that I have with other women, communication really becomes a big one with mother-daughter relationships. I think sometimes it's hard to be transparent. I think as women, we pay a lot of attention to tone and body language and all those cues. So sometimes there's misfires, especially as your little girl is becoming a woman. And I think you have to be adaptable. But I think communication becomes that challenge. What's okay to talk about? When is it okay to talk about it? Is that too mature for them to talk about? Did she just kind of roll her neck when she said that? What's the tone? Yeah. So I
Right.
think communication becomes really the big challenges. And there's been moments where I had to pause because my natural spirit would have reacted because maybe she said something in frustration. And rightfully so, the situation, she could rightfully be frustrated. But in my mind, I wanted her to have better composure than that.
Right.
Or like, you're not going to move your neck when you say it kind of situation. I have to take a step back, like, okay, she's rightfully frustrated. If I want her to have good composure of her emotions, why am I going to not have good composure of mine? And then I get an attitude because she got an attitude.
Right.
So I think that's what tends to be a common challenge with mother and daughter relationships is that communication piece.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, no. I mean, I noticed the difference between like my brothers and me, and I feel like a lot. Well, maybe because also because I'm older, but I feel like as Dion is getting older too, it's like I feel like there is like a different level of communication between me and her than like him and her, and there's not like a negative way, but it's just
Right.
like it's definitely a lot more personal than it needs to be, and it can get that way, and I feel like that's a lot of the challenges that we kind of see with mothers and daughters. I feel like there really is no room for boundaries to be made unless you make them sometimes, and that's something that you kind of have to work through as that relationship grows and fosters, because a lot of the time, mothers kind of see themselves in their daughter, and that's like your mini you. So there's sometimes like a disconnect with certain things, but being able to work through that is kind of like a lot of the challenge within having a relationship with your mom or having a good relationship with your mom. So
Yeah, so when you said that too, kind of sparked something when you said, mothers see their selves in their daughter, right? Meaning you. And so going back to what you were saying, Doris, when it comes to that communication piece and that expectation piece, when you see yourself in your daughter or those types of traits, you see even maybe some of those traits that you wish that you didn't have when they were younger. And so you may cause you to overreact and overcorrect because you want them to be this perfect, great daughter, maturity as you were talking about. Justice as you're going into that maturity and a commanding presence. And so towards that fine balance, I thought that was such a great thing that you and Justice both kind of said in your own way, that balance of when and how and reaction and communication is such a beautiful piece that I think all mothers and parents can relate to.
Thank you.
So what I would like to do now is that we have a box of some questions that I'd like to pull from the audience. Thank you. And I would like to ask Pastor Tony to pull one of these cards. Mix them up. And then I would like to ask my mom to read the first cards when we have a mother in the audience.
What did you have to overcome when writing Raising Justice?
Writer's block. I think the biggest thing I had to overcome was the writer's block. I've been busy the last 20 years. Like, when I got pregnant with her at 19, I had Justice right at 20, and then I spent the last 20 years working full time, trying to start businesses. Y'all know I like to travel, so having a good time, but just being busy with life. And I think that the biggest thing was sitting myself down and going through my journals that I collected over the years, but really putting the book into a good format. But yeah, it's just getting out of the busyness and dedicating the time. And I hired a editor and a book coach to help me have an accountability partner so that I could cross that finish line. But yeah, I'm juggling a lot. I'm raising a family. The biggest thing I really had to overcome was sitting down and actually writing. Yeah. And then I also just had to get over, you have to get over people. Like, hey, I'm going to tell this story. Yeah.
Amen. Amen. Another question is what was the biggest thing that moved you to starting writing the book?
Yeah. Like I said, I started at 15, but this book in particular, I started journaling. Like, I knew I was going to write a book about her when she was about 6 or 7, and she challenged me on something that I thought was just atypical for a young child, and it's something that you'll read about in the book. But I had told her that you couldn't have children or unless you were married. And it took her about 6 or 7 to ask me, well, are you married? And I'm like, no, like, where are you going with this? But you said, and I told her kids couldn't have babies. And my 16-year-old sister was having a baby, and we went to the baby shower. And she's like, and you said kids couldn't have babies. But isn't Auntie Novi a kid? I'm like, yeah, she is, Justice, like. And so I knew kind of in that moment that I was going to be writing a book about her, because I think me at her age, I would have known that, but I don't think I would have came and questioned my mother about it. Like, oh, she said that and that ain't true. But no, she came to me and wanted almost to hold me accountable to my words. And so I knew then that I'm probably going to write a book on her, because I don't think kids be doing stuff like this.
That's awesome. Do we have another one, Pastor Julie, that we can read?
Okay. How has this process impacted your relationship as a mother and daughter?
That's a good one.
If anything, it's been like a good effect. I mean, I just like, well, we talk like every day, but we talk now about the book, which is really fun, and I get to hear stories that like I didn't know the full context to, and then now I get to read it, and I'm like, oh, like that.
That
That's
makes sense.
everything.
Right.
Yeah. So for me, this is like filling in like memory blocks that I've had for years. So I think it's been beneficial to kind of see what her perspective of like our situations were, like what my life looked like to her. So it's very interesting to see, and I feel like it's just been making us closer, if anything, because we get to talk about, oh, did that sound right, or should I rewrite that sentence, or things like that. So it's been fun to navigate. I feel like.
Yeah, ditto. Like I echo that. It's been a
Yeah.
really good experience. We were talking about one chapter, and I was like, I know what happened, but what what led up to that? So I got
Right.
to kind of ask her now, like, do you remember why you said that to me, or what you
Right.
were thinking at that time? So I think it brought us closer. Like, it's given us an opportunity to talk about the little details that we hadn't maybe discussed before.
That's beautiful. And I'm going to read one more question, and then I would like to open it up to the audience for some feedback before we move on.
So, Justice, how do you feel about your mother and all that she has accomplished raising you?
Oh, that's a great question. Whoever asked that, good job, good job. I feel great. I think my mom is one of those people that like you just look at and you're just in awe, like fully in awe. Like I think people are always like, "Oh my God, congratulations, Chester, you're doing amazing." I'm like, "Yeah, but like there's people who are way better than me." I think my mom is a prime example of that. Like she is somebody who I look at and I'm like, "I want to be like you." Like I wake up every day and I'm like, "I'm gonna be better than my mom." You know what I mean? And I haven't got there yet, but I'm gonna try to. You know what I mean? I feel like that's something that you really can't replicate. And I feel like my mom is just one of those people who she has a gift and it's very evident, and I just can't help but admire it. I feel like a lot of my personality, that's why I'm exactly like her, because I really do enjoy her. And I think that her writing a book about me is just like a gift as well. So yeah, I think that I'm very proud of her. Everything that she's done has been amazing. Everything she's touched has been blessed. And it's awesome. It's awesome to be a product of her. So yes, that's my answer.
Doris, did you want to comment on that?
Thank you. I mean, I appreciate getting my flowers while I'm here, especially on Mother's Day weekend. That was really good. You ain't got to do
That was
nothing
a
else.
good plug.
I got her flowers, y'all.
That was a good plug.
But she did actually buy me flowers and a card. So, but those were even more flowers. Thank you.
So now I would just like to open it up for the floor. We have some microphones up here, and I'll walk around. But I'd just like to hear back from you. This is the first time that she's sharing this publicly. This is the first time that she's, read the book publicly. Justice is here, and so I think it'll be really great feedback from the people that are here. This intimate crowd that she trusts, that she loves, and you obviously love her for being here, supporting this moment. Just even if it's a couple sentences or words of inspiration or how you feel.
Christina, if you don't mind, can I ask one more question? So, in hearing the book and hearing the first chapter, I think it was Fate and Faith and Justice, you hearing that and the whole process, your mother meeting Dion, and we didn't get into you even talking to Dion about it, but where you are today, you talked about graduation day was a full circle thing. And I would just like to hear what you thought, hearing that in Dion uh, not being a part of that, but being everything in that.
Yeah, I love my dad. I really do. Like I don't know. Especially recently, I've been like, I love my dad so much. So I feel like it's great that I've always had him, and there wasn't a question of who my dad was. So I don't know why I'm getting emotional. Oh God. But yeah, it's just a great thing to have. It is. It really is. But I think graduation is just awesome because I got to see my dad in his gown. I got to see my mom, and I was in the city that they met and that they, raised me and Dion. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. Yeah.
I think the feedback that I would give after, of course, I've read a few chapters in the book. Um, the thing for me is just hearing it. When I made certain decisions at that age, it was I didn't realize the impact that it would have because the decision that I made it solely because of how I felt about Doris. But the impact that it would have on justice, just not really realizing that I was fulfilling something that Doris prayed about before I even, I mean, I was in the picture even at that time, but I didn't know that that was something that she prayed for. Because just being transparent in the book, there was a period where we did kind of break up. And kind of like she thought the um, going to the abortion was an escape. I thought the same thing. Well, maybe this not meant to be for me to be raising, a kid that's not mine. But I'm like, I don't know what hit me at 19, where most of my friends doing God knows what, and that's who I'm hanging with every day. But just daring to be different. Um, I kind of approached her back again after that. So at that point, I was just in my head of like, hey, listen. Um, I have a stepdad, and my real dad is here today. But my stepdad had to accept my mother, with me being 13 already. So it just put in my head was like, hey, if I feel this way about her, I'm not gonna let her situation affect me. If I'm gonna be with her, I'm gonna assume what comes with her. So at that point, it wasn't hard for me. You know, um, when you're dealing with a lot of people your age immature, yeah, man, you doing this, you doing that, but I don't care how you feel. This is what I chose to do. So at that point, it's just like sitting here today, even being at graduation, us being able to take the picture, throwing up the Raptor stripe, it just made me proud. And I think this book and what I read, like Doris said, is not just a mother-daughter. Because to be honest with you, I learned a lot from her in regards to our boys as well. Because um, it challenges our upbringing. And I'm gonna be the first one to say I didn't have a bad upbringing. But it also makes you just think about. It makes you think more. She challenges me to think more because a lot of the times I feel like even in education, like people raise their kids how they were raised and never take the time to challenge or say was not necessarily if it was right the way I was raised or could something have been done differently, to make me better or things like that. So that's one thing that we try to be more so as conscientious of all of our decisions that we make with our kids. And I think I like one of the things that you said, and when you asked about seeing some of the things in her injustice as she saw in herself, because that's one of the hardest things about being a parent is getting you out of your kid, and we just try to do a really good job of that and just not acting off of emotion because I can say I'm more emotional when it comes to my kids when I feel like because I deal with other people's kids every day and when I see my kids just making some of the same decisions, I got to step back and say, okay, they're teenagers or they still kids, so they're going to make certain decisions, but it's up to us to steer them and teach them, the consequences of their actions and lead them the right way. But I'm just in awe of everything. I'm proud of both of them, especially my wife. Justice's accomplishments because I know this is something that my wife has been wanting to do for a long time. And, I'm just one of the people like, she left her job. Well, she wasn't with them anymore. If she would have still been with them, this probably would have never happened. So I'm one of those people that just try to find God in every situation, even a situation that kind of, you just know it wasn't meant for good. What can I take from this? And it just forces me to think about the greatness of God and how he can turn everything around that you may not feel is going to be. You just have to move with the end in mind. Move with the end in mind and not look at your current situation.
Amen. Amen. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Pastor Wanda, you had something?
I'll be short. Don't want to get too emotional because when Doris sent me just like the breakdown, I got emotional. It was amazing, just that little bit that I read, and I'm excited, and I really want to get into the book and just read the whole book. I have a daughter of my own, and I did like how in chapter 1, as you were reading, you expressed that you felt like you were in a web. And if you look at the picture of how you placed, you understand, the cover of the book, everything connects. Um, the color you had mentioned in the office, there was, the olive color. So it was cool to hear you read chapter 1 and just see how everything connected. And that's just God. Yes.
That's a great catch.
Amen. Amen. Thank you for sharing.
Good afternoon. I'm so proud of you, Danielle, and Justice, I'm very proud. I do have a little concern because I didn't know I didn't know that you was contemplating on what you said in that book. I thought that you would, tell me everything that was going on when you told me you was pregnant. I said you did what I asked you to do, was to graduate from high school, and you went on to college. I couldn't be mad with you for having justice. I'm so proud that you changed your mind on that because I never would wanted you to get rid of anything. I am so proud of you from this day forward that I love you both. I love Justice and I love Dion because Dion came in the picture and he stayed in the picture and I always love him for that. So I appreciate the things that you said. I appreciate that you came out openly with your book and I hope you prosper more. I love you for it.
Thank you, Mom. Love you too.
Okay. I knew I had to talk next, so I was trying to hold back the tears there. But first of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you for being vulnerable, open. Um, I'm a very guarded person. And my pastor always says, you have to tell people your testimony and tell people if you've gone, when you've gone through things. I had amazing parents, awesome upbringing, but, as you journey through life, as you become a parent, and as you go through different things, um, like you said, you're growing with your children. You're growing, oh, I shouldn't have done it this way, I shouldn't have done it that way. My mom wouldn't have taken that, but we're in a different time. And the fact that, I have two girls, two totally different personalities. So this is awesome that you're willing to open up and say how you're raising, such a beautiful daughter. Congratulations to both of you, on your accomplishments and everything. But I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for willing to be vulnerable, to open up, to tell your story, because this is gonna bless so many people. And it pertains to so many different areas of life in general. So thank you to your husband, your children. Just thank you because you're opening up your family to us. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sorry about that. Danielle, I just wanted to express how extremely proud I am of you and Justice and my son. I never got the opportunity to say that, this is kind of emotional for me because I met Danielle. She came into my life when she was only 19 years old. And I can remember like yesterday, Dion's mom called me and said, are you going to Fort Pierce this weekend? Because I lived in Fort Lauderdale at the time. And I said, yeah, I'm going to see Dion. He's like, good, your son has something to tell you. So I get to Fort Pierce and Dion introduces me to Danielle and he tells me she's pregnant. And I said, okay. So I was coming from a place where I had no room to be judgmental toward anybody. And I was like, well, Dion was at the time 18, Doris was 19. I was like saying to myself, well, he did better than me. I had Dion when I was 17. So, and then he said, Pops, well, I got something to tell you, like, but, the baby ain't mine. I'm like, what are you talking about? So we had this discussion as father and son, and then I asked him, I said, Dion, do you love her? And he said, yeah, Dad, I love her. And I said, are you sure that this is the journey you want to go on? And he said, yeah. So I said, well, that's what's most important. If you love her, man, and this is where you want to be, I'm 100% with you. And so fast forward, I look at the journey that they've been on, like, you know, and what I got to say to Danielle is this. From the day I've met you, the thing I admire and respect about you to this very day is you a ride or die chick. You a real woman. You feel me? Because even when my son was slacking in many ways, you carried the torch. You know, you really showed me that you loved him unconditionally. And even when Junior came into the picture, you was in college, both of you guys. And through that whole journey, you worked, went to school. You always had family first in mind. And anybody that knows you knows that you are an absolute pit bull, beast when it comes to business and pursuing your dreams. You don't slack in any kind of way. And in terms, as a result of that, you have made him a better entrepreneur, a better man in terms of understanding where are we going in life, what's our goals, what's our time frames. And then to see Justice turn out to be the beautiful, awesome young lady that she has turned out to be, my granddaughter, my oldest granddaughter, it's just an amazing feeling right now. And I encourage you to keep on pursuing whatever God has laid upon your heart. Obviously, he is a rewarder of those that diligently seek his face. I've never seen him fail ever in my life. And as I look at you all today, I know he is a keeping God, and I know that this is going to be an amazing book. It's like a national bestseller. When I hear it's like a movie. I can see a movie like you telling you're at the abortion clinic, you got this whole thing going on where you're pregnant and you're confused and you don't even know how to tell the new guy that you're in love with that you're pregnant. And so, I mean, just that whole journey, that whole narrative is an amazing story. I just want to know, I want you to know I love you, I support you always in anything, anywhere I can, and keep fighting, my girl.
Thank you, Papa Reese.
Lifetime hit us up.
All right. Hello, everyone. So I just wanted to say really quick, Danielle, I am so proud of you. I am proud of the woman that you have grown to be and just the life that you are living, and you live that life unto the Lord. And as you continue to do that, his name is lifted. And the Bible declares that he draws people unto him when his son is glorified. And you are glorifying his name. And the people are going to come. They're going to come from the north, the south, the east, and the west. And they are going to come because of you allowing him to use you in raising justice. You allowed him to use you in doing that. That's his grace. People respond to grace. A lot of times we have the capacity to want to whip people across the head in order for people to see. But sometimes the only thing they need to see is just the basis of what true love is. And that's the root of who you are. You love, and you love hard. And I thank God that you do that. You do it for your household and the extension outside of your home. We all see it. We all know it. Even if no one cannot express it, they see it. They just don't understand it, and they don't know how to receive it. You keep giving it. Keep pouring it out, because it matters. It matters, and we see that it matters because justice is sitting next to you. Love covers a multitude of sin. And when you allow God to allow her to remain, that was love covering you. It still covers you to this day. And so I look at Justice and I see the strength. She may not know that it's completely there, but it's there. Girl, you have power on the inside of you that you haven't even tapped into yet. When I tell you, and I'm just excited because I'm listening to you and I'm like, oh my goodness, I can look 10 years down the road. You have no clue where you're going. My God. And but the beauty of it is that as you continue to keep your eyes set on him, all of a sudden you're going to look up just like your mother is looking up today, and you would have graduated again. So I'm just excited because I believe that this book is giving people permission. Is giving people permission to raise justice. Is giving people permission to do the unspeakable. Is giving people permission to do what the world says is a taboo, to walk in it, to put on your shoes, to put on your boots and walk in it. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful that I can be a witness of today. I'm thankful that I am able to see where this journey is going to lead you all. Like, I'm excited because I know that this is so much bigger than today. This is so much bigger. All those women, Danielle, that you've been talking about, you shall see them. You will see them, and you will stand before them, and you will present to them the life of Danielle, Doris Danielle, raising justice. All the ins and outs.
Thank you, cuz.
All the ins and outs. All the ups and downs. They all matter. God works all things to our good, and today is good for you. It's good, my cousin.
Thank you.
I love what she said about permission, and that just felt like that echoed as well, where people were sharing, even Pastor Wanda and Miss Sharonda, different people, permission. That this book is going to give people permission to even share their story, permission to feel those feelings that they may have shut off. But even through reading Faith and Faith, I think this book is going to give permission for women to feel those feelings and travel through that journey and just release and heal.
How y'all doing today? I want to just say this doesn't surprise me at all with you, because growing up, you always try to challenge yourself to grow and to excel to something else, to the next level. And you always been around not just raising justice or your own kids, but that big sister. You always been a mother figure to me. So chapter 1 was just potent, man. I can't wait to read it. You know what I'm saying? You always, like Justice said, you always just been a person that someone looked up to. Like, always growing up, always looked up to my sister. And I'm proud of you because
Thank you.
I sat for years, just watching you, like, grow into a phenomenal woman, man, that you are. And you kept them pads, like, everywhere you went. And to this day, now it's to the world to see. And I'm glad to be around it still, to hear it, because within the deaths and loss that we done had amongst our family, I know it's hard, and the challenge that you went through, and it's just another challenge that you're going through right now by becoming the bestseller, because that's what you're going to become, and it's
Amen.
already there.
I'm going to take that from the first author of the family. So I'm actually the second author of the family. My brother was the first to purchase a book, publish a book.
And with Injustice, you already there, sweetheart. I tell you all the time, man, you just like your sister. I mean, you just like my sister. You just like my sister. You look alike, act alike, talk alike, think alike, everything. So you already there. You just continue to grow into the young woman that you are right now. And I'm so proud of you, Justice. And you just continue to be awesome, man.
So I'll talk about how amazing you are to me, because I don't want to cry, because I want to say what I need to say first. I love that this book introduces a style of parenting that hasn't been yet acknowledged, which is conscious parenting. And I think we talk about gentle parenting and helicopter parenting and all these different types of parenting. But this book, I believe, is going to encourage us to be conscientious about how we parent our kids. Those of us who are in the fight with younger kids, uh, those who have raised their kids, to be conscious of the things that wasn't said, that needs to be said, that needs to be healed, that needs to be mended, right? So I love that you were obedient to be transparent, as it's the only way you know to be. And I love that about you, as many of us love that about you. But I do believe that it's going to cover multiple generations and unite and heal, because there's things that we miss, as Dion mentioned before, about how we were raised, trying to look through the lenses of our parents versus looking through the lenses that God has given us to raise the kids that we've been entrusted. So I love you and I thank you. Okay, now I can be sappy because I don't care if I cry, but I wanted to get that part out. You are amazing. You have been an inspiration. Ride or die is like an understatement. Because you just go 100% at anything you do, and you don't have you have off and then you have on, and on is good. But I'm just blessed to be a part of this with you and to witness this. You've been in my life for the last 3 years. We've been through the corporate struggle, and I'm just amazed. I'm in awe of everything, but I just love your village, right? Because this is her village, and I feel like I knew most of you when I walked in the room, because you guys have been at the core of who she is. And so, Justice, tremendously proud of you. You had an auntie in Jacksonville cheering you on. and I'm in awe of what's coming next. And thank you, Doris and Justice, for sharing your story.
Thank you, Cherie. I appreciate it.
We have time for one last more. Pastor Tony. Two. Okay, two.
Look, actually 2 more, okay? So, Doris, I just jotted down some words really quickly. Job well done, phenomenal, amazing, mood setter that you are. And I just want to say, you and Dion should be proud of Justice right now, which I know you are, but you should be proud. And Justice, you are beautiful, called, anointed, powerful, and you fly. Baby, fly. Doris, I whispered to Pastor Tony when Christina said Q&A, and I said, this is a mood setter. I'm sorry, I said, this is a Lifetime movie. Lifetime. It's going to be on Lifetime. I promise you it's going to be on Lifetime. Thank you for being the voice for men and women. The Bible says you're overcomers by the word of your testimony and the blood of the Lamb. This is your testimony. It's going to the masses, and you are going to win souls for Christ. Love you.
Thank you, Pastor Jody. Thank you so much.
Doris, I want to just say this to you, Dion, and Justice, and the entire Shazer family. Your family is real, and that is, as your pastor, and also your friend, that is what I appreciate the most. I want to say a couple of things real quick. The foundation of your success is not perfection, but it is the position in which you always start things. And it is you've always put God first. And I see that as a pastor, and it overwhelms my heart. To have your book launching here at church, and you say, no, I have to launch our book in our church home. That in itself speaks so much about your relationship. Forget everybody else in this room, but with your relationship with God. And because the Lord has put on my heart just to say this, because you've put him first, he will always lift you up to a level that will amaze and astonish not only you, but all those who are connected to you. And that is a very, very great thing to be a part of and to watch. Now, I've had the opportunity and the privilege of even grabbing the first couple of chapters to read, and I'm just, you guys don't know what you're in store for. And it's going to be an impactful journey. So a couple of things. Justice, I want to say this to you. I saw you in the lobby, and I was going back to my office, and I was saying, man, it's just great to see you. And as I was walking back to my office, you ever say things you go, dude, you should have said some more than other than just as great to see you. And the Holy Spirit said, no, that is it. It's great to see you. It's great to see the journey that God has allowed your parents to travel through to allow you to be here at this moment. And when you talk about, as an author, the first chapter, faith and faith. Now we know, even in our book club, our Arthur King Arthur Book Club, that the first chapter is the most pivotal, powerful part. It has to draw you through the rest of the book. And seeing the way the Holy Spirit led you to talk about faith and also faith, and then justice, that whole thing, that it was justice. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been in a courtroom. I have. It's two sides of justice. It's that protection part, and then it's when you have done wrong, it's that fear part. And, you know, and overcoming that fear with faith. And then also the faith of God, that God was faithful even when we deserved to say, no, I don't justice. But he says, no, your faith is not going to be the end result of your mistake. It is going to be what other people see as a mistake. It's going to be the grace of God. And that is the powerful thing that I see. I'm overwhelmed. I hear the common phrase for women, and I get that. But it's for men. I mean, when I'm reading this, it impacted me to see a woman of God in the early stages of her walk with God make those decisions, and to see a man of God in the early stages of being in awe of a woman of God, and love covers a multitude of faults. Love, I'm going to do what God told me to do. I mean, because this is, to me, love is patient, love is kind, love does not envy, love does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it's not self-seeking, it's not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrong. Listen to this. Love does not delight in evil, but only rejoices with the truth. It is always protecting, always trusting, always hoping, and always preserving. That's the Shazer family. That's y'all. And yes, it is a modern day picture of God's love. You make me want to preach tomorrow and call my title Justice.
I'll be there.
And that's how inspiring it is. But I just want to say, I'm so proud of you as your spiritual pastor. Justice, again, I'm going to tell you what I said to you in the library. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
It is good to see you. Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Tony. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pastor Tony. And thank you, all of you, for being here to support the Raising Justice launch. Thank you for your love that you've shown her and the entire family for the support. In closing, are there any final thoughts, Doris and Justice, that you'd like to say?
Thank you. I mean, you guys have filled my cup. I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I second that wholeheartedly. Thank you so much for being here. It means a lot to me, and especially my mom, so it means even more to me. And I think I'll reiterate what I said earlier. Read the book with an open mind and take it and use it in your lives. That's all I'm going to say.
Amen. So as a parting gift, Doris and Justice and their family, as you exit, they will be giving you a Raising Justice bookmark, so to go in line with your book. And if we can put that last slide up there, we'd love for you to just pre-order your book today. You can scan this QR code. Did you want to talk a little bit about that, Doris, about when they scan, how they can receive, and when they're expected to receive?
So the book will be published June 27th, which is the 20-year anniversary of me becoming a mom, or Justice's birthday for short. Um, so the book publishes June 27th, and it'll be available on Apple, Google, Amazon, and Barnes and Noble. However, if you purchase your book before then, through my website or this link, you will receive an autographed copy, meaning I will touch that book personally. I will pray over that book and sign it before I send it out to you. So that's the benefit of ordering before June 27th. I will be sending those books personally, and then on June 27th, all books will be available in those other markets.
So if we can all stand, please, and I would like to have our pastor just do a closing, sealing prayer over this day, over this moment, and just over this fantastic journey that the whole Shazier family is going over.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for just being that, our loving Father. Thank you, Father, that your word says that nothing that we could do could ever cause you to leave us alone. Nothing that we could ever do could cause your heart to be positioned away from us. And we thank you, Father, for your word that says that we are overcomers, first by the blood of Yeshua, but also by the word of our testimony. So we thank you for your daughter, our sister, that has been faithful in sharing her testimony to, as one said, this village. But not only this village, but with the world. We thank you that as the world hears the name justice, that they will think about your grace and your mercy. We thank you for the power of family. We thank you for the power of love between two individuals that first put their trust in you, that as Dion and Doris loved one another the way that you commanded them to do, not in perfection, but with all their heart, that love has allowed them to raise justice. And we celebrate in that. We celebrate the entire Shazier family. We celebrate our connection with you through them. And we ask, Father, now that you would be glorified. That every book that is sold, every movie that is made, and every interview that is taken upon, that your name would resound throughout this earth, that souls would be saved, hearts would be encouraged, and individuals would be changed just by hearing the journey of this Shazier family. We give you all the praise and glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Refreshments outside. I'll meet you out there. Thank you.
Please meet us out in the lobby for more opportunities to take photos with Justice and Doris. Thank you for coming, everyone.